What is going on, you guys? It's your boy Average Bob. Welcome back to the channel. It's been, an eventful offseason thus far. And talking about NFL free agency and all that stuff coming up, there were three names that just got dropped in the past week that are names you're all familiar with and guys that have been around the league and have had success for a very long time, but are at the tail end of their careers or their careers are pretty much over. And these three names got a lot of clicks and a lot of engagement, but I'm not sure really any of them make sense. So let's get started by talking about the one option that I think, maybe could help the team, even though I'm not really into it. And that being Travis Kelce from the Kansas City Chiefs to come and play tight end. So I'm pretty sure Travis Kelce's still under contract, so you'd have to trade to get him. And the Giants with Joe Shane also had a trade a couple years ago, bringing in Darren Waller, and that didn't really work out too successfully. And I think Travis. I had to look up Travis Kelce's stats because I forgot what he had really done last season because the Chiefs had a pretty their worst season in a very long period of time. And Kelce finished last season with 853 yards, and I think 851 yards and 5 touchdowns, and they went 6-11. He did earn his 11th Pro Bowl nod, and he is currently, I believe, 36 or 37 years old now. So with that being said, he's 36 years old. He's at pretty much the tail end of his career. He has a very successful podcast with his brother. He's also married, or going to be married, to one of the biggest pop stars in the history of civilization. So I don't know. I think he'll probably be a lifelong Chief unless someone throws a crazy amount of draft capital at the Chiefs to make this deal happen. I don't think the Giants should do that for a guy who's going to be on the team for a year or two. It doesn't really make much sense to me. So that's why I found it very clickbaity. I do like Travis Kelce. I think, there's an argument to be made that he's a better tight end than Rob Gronkowski. And I like to say that to my Patriots fan friends and anger them with that argument. But yeah, I respect Travis Kelce. I just don't see it being a fit right now for him to come into the Giants. As Theo Johnson, I did a video about him the other week, which I'll post up top if you want to go watch it again. But he had a successful season. If he could clean up the drops, which I think he can, he's an NFL tight end at like 24, 25 years old. Like, he could figure out how to catch the ball. And he was one of the other few people that made plays down the field outside of Wan'Dale Robinson, who's probably walking in free agency. So, I mean, maybe, if you think Theo's the guy, you don't do the trade, but then where does that put him if you bring in Travis Kelce? And maybe they do Travis Kelce. And here's the only last thing I could say about Travis Kelce coming to the Giants is if they don't think that they could get a wide receiver too that could start the season while Malik Neighbors is coming back off of his ACL rehab, then maybe they do this. Because he is the one name after these next two that I'm going to speak of that, can play week one, day one, and add some veteran urgency to win another championship immediately to the locker room. Next up was a huge name that's been coming up that I've seen on X. I think like Alex from Fireside Giants was screaming to the high heavens, and even Carl Banks was, interacting with him along the lines of Tyreek Hill coming to the Giants. And, one argument that he was making is he would come super cheap. And I don't understand this idea to talk about, if you get Tyreek Hill for cheap, like, yeah, I totally agree. That would be a great move, even though he's coming off that insane knee injury that he had last year. Let me see if I could find exactly what it was in front of me. It was multiple ligament tears, including an ACL, which takes a while to return. And he did do that in September. So similar to Malik Neighbors doing his, I think Malik was late September, early October, that Chargers game. So when you do it early in the year, there is a chance you could come back the next season. It's just a matter of that timetable. If it was really, really bad, he's going to lose a lot of speed, and this is a 9 to 12 month process that they're not going to really rush him back for. Also, how old is he at this point? I can't even remember. He's 31. So he's getting into his 30s. As a wide receiver, we know you lose a lot of, just organically, you're losing a step out of your speed. But Tyreek Hill's been a brand name in the NFL for the last decade, right? I just don't see him being cheap in any way, shape, or form. Maybe if he goes unsigned, I think someone would just give him, a couple million to just have them sign on their squad to see, if he can be, a part of it. Because here's also a thing with Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill has multiple baby mamas, and that ain't cheap. So he's not going to sign a team-friendly deal for anyone to help them win a championship. Are you out of your mind? He's already won on a team that had given him faith and drafted him originally. So he doesn't know anyone a cheap contract, a cheap deal, and he's got a lot of mouths to feed. So he ain't taking a cheap deal. Whoever has this narrative that Tyreek Hill, no matter how banged up his knee is going to take a team-friendly discount anywhere, it makes no sense to me. So that's all I have to say about Tyreek Hill and why it makes no sense. The last name on this list is a name that Giants fans know and love, and this is why it pops up. So on my timeline the other day, I had Nikki and JoJo Scarletta, the twins from Staten Island, social media influencers, who I believe are absolutely hilarious. If you don't follow them on Instagram, give them a follow because they are handmade quality shit. They're the last of a dying breed of New Yorkers that embody the culture of, really what it means. And they started a petition to sign Odell Beckham Jr. back to the Giants. There was a little bit of familiarity between Odell Beckham Jr. and John Harbaugh and the Ravens for, I think it was like one season. It was, in my eyes, very forgettable. Odell really hadn't done much since he tore his ACL or his knee up in the Super Bowl that year. And listen, I got to look into the camera and tell you this. I love Odell Beckham. I am probably a little bit of a generation older than the people. I couldn't even imagine if you were growing up in high school or middle school and Odell Beckham's doing these one-handed catches, doing what he did as a younger kid. That is like, he is the peak of your Giants fandom. And I had some of those guys growing up, obviously not as talented as Odell Beckham Jr., but I always think of them in that regard. And I would have always liked for them to come back. But at this point in his career, Odell didn't play last season. He had a 6-game suspension. So at this point, I think it's over for him. And it pains me to say that because would it be fun to have one last ride with him? Yes. Would he come for super cheap? I don't know. Maybe. Like he's an egomaniac guy. So he might not say I'm going to come for cheap. And even then, what's the league minimum for signing, a veteran wide receiver like that? Like $1 or $2 million? Are they going to just come up with that money to pay someone for one last feel-good story when we're rebuilding with a whole, I don't even think anyone's left from the last time Odell Beckham Jr. was on the Giants, right? So you're bringing him back so you could sell more jerseys and have a feel-good moment for the fans and him. I mean, he's a grown man. He's made enough money, even though he said 100 million wasn't enough to live or whatever the full quote is. I'm just kind of improvising there. And I think he had his moments with the Giants, and some things, are meant to be left in the past when you go to the well and you start grasping for straws of nostalgia. I don't think it's the right time for the Giants to do something like this. Maybe 2 years ago, when instead of resigning like Isaiah Hodgins or like Paris Campbell, Odell could have came back, right? That would have made perfect sense because the team sucked anyway. But now I think we've turned a corner. We've got all of this, hopefully, loser mentality and losing culture behind us now with Coach Harbaugh, and a new beginning with Dart and Scattaboo coming off surgery, and Neighbors coming off surgery, and Andrew Thomas putting together, one of his best seasons in quite some time. So the future is bright here. I just don't want to go to the well for the factor of nostalgia. Does it get clicks? Does it get engagement? I don't know. Look at the view count of this video by the time, a week goes by. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But those are just 3 names that had come up that I've been meaning to do a video about. And before too much time went on and no one cared anymore, I wanted to do it today. So let me know what you guys think about those 3 options. If they're names you would like to see on the team. I mean, I know what you're going to say. Kelce, no. Tyreek Hill, no. But maybe if he's cheap. But again, who knows how he's going to look after all of these surgeries and his banged up knee. And then the last one, Odell, which is going to overwhelmingly always be a yes for Giants fans. And that's all I got for today. We're going to have a lot of draft content coming up. I really want to talk about, there are a couple things left from last season that I want to dive into, especially the O-line, the running back situation, Dexter Lawrence, and the secondary. So stay tuned. If there's anything else you guys want to specifically see, just drop a comment because I'd love to create things for people that they want to enjoy. So have a great weekend, y'all. Peace.